What's up? What's up? How's everything going? Hopefully everything's going beautiful for you today. So today it's going to be a little bit different than normal. All right. Today we're going to be going into books. And specifically what I'm currently reading, my little back catalog of books, and then a few tips on how to get more reading done. So let's start at the top. Currently reading Dune, right? Yeah, Dune. That's how you say it. Got to get it right. Can't say it wrong. I always say it wrong. But either way, I'm at the beginning of this book. I'm really enjoying it. And yes, that is a folded page. I know. Sacrilegious. I shouldn't do this to this poor little book. But I guess this is technically a tip. We'll start here with a tip. The reasoning I did that, I started folding pages even though it irks me to unknowingly levels about damaging the book. I need to stop making these books so precious. Like I'm telling you, I'd be reading some of these books like almost like, oh man, let me get the dust particles out of the way as they're coming in. I don't want to bend anything. And by the time I'm reading, I can barely see the words. I just made it too complicated for me to read, and I made it a way for me to not read because I was too worried about the physical condition of the book. So that is why I started folding pages, is so I can combat myself. I know it sounds a little crazy, but maybe you do it too. Please don't leave me here by myself. But either way, Dune, I'm really enjoying this book so far. I don't know if you get the same thing. I do get a little confused in the beginning of books. I am fairly new to reading. I've probably been reading for about a year or two now, like pretty heavily. And typically still in the beginning of fantasy books, sometimes there's a lot of weird names get introduced. And I'm not very good at reading the strange names. And yeah, sci-fi and fantasy will typically have crazy named characters, and I'm like, can't they all just be like Bob or Joe or something that I can get just simple? But they all have these names, and I get confused who's who. But after a while, I usually flow into it. Hopefully, you guys go through the same thing. If not, well, hey, I'm the only guy then. But let's look at this back catalog. You ready for this? All right, it's small. All right, so this is the back catalog. It's not a lot of books. Mainly this back catalog is a catalog of accomplishable goal by the end of the year. Like I want to get these done on top of book club. So I feel like this is a good selection of books. It's two little classics, one that apparently not many people like, but I really loved Ready Player One. So I want to give it a shot. I want to kind of run through it. And then of course some Stephen King. I do like Stephen King. I've only read one of his books, The Institution, which I really loved. Kind of fell apart on me on the end, but still love the book. And I really want to get to The Outsider. That was recommended me by a friend. So that's my little back catalog. And you also saw what I currently was reading. So now let's get into some tips about how to get more reading done. And the main reason I'm making this is to reinforce ideas that I have in myself, so that I can get back into reading a little bit more. Because lately if I'm going to be honest, I've been falling off a little bit. And I don't like that. So this was a video I thought I should make for hopefully you guys get something out of this. If you don't, I'm hoping I at least get something out of this, because you never know. I might just do all this and then still not read more than I wanted to. But either way. So a big one for me is devoting time daily, like maybe an hour or two or 30 minutes, or even just reading a chapter. Like prior to this week, for the last, I think like 8 weeks, I was reading a chapter a day, right? 8 weeks? Yeah, something like that. I was reading a chapter a day. And a chapter a day is not a lot, depending upon the book, of course. Some books have very long chapters, but it was like a daily thing. I'd write it down. I'd cross it out. I got my chapter in. It felt good. I was really enjoying it. This week, I kind of fell off of that. So I know I need to get back onto the daily chapters at least, because those small little goals like that, it's very accomplishable even if you only have 30 minutes. And sometimes it leads into longer than that. which is nice because like you get into a book sometimes, you know how it is. You get sucked in. It's a good thing, right? Maybe not all the time, but yeah, a daily devotion to the reading habit would be one tip that I have. Another tip would be, I don't know if I would call this wasting time, but when you notice that you're just in the motions, like you're just scrolling through Instagram or TikTok or whatever other social media you use, and you're not really looking at anything, you're just kind of passing time. Maybe if you notice it, close the app, go pick up a book, or if you can't pick up a book, maybe you do Kindle. I don't know if you read like that, but read it digitally. And it's probably a little bit better if you're reading digital with like the Kindle app or whatever app you use. That's just what I use, because then you can just quickly get out of that app, open the Kindle app, and start reading the book, which is nice. And then that can transfer over if you have a physical Kindle, or you just read off of there, whatever works. That also ties into, like, since we're talking about Kindles and digital books, don't stick to one medium. That's something that I learned in the beginning, because I was reading a lot of physical in the beginning because I like physical media. But then I moved into the Kindle, and I used my Kindle for 6 to 8 months exclusively. I fell in love with the digital, but now I kind of fell out of it again, and I'm back on my my physical kick. And I really like being back in physical, but in a new way, because now I'm in physical with folding pages. I wouldn't have done this, and I really love the softbacks. The softbacks are probably my favorite, especially over the hard. I like the hard covers, like if it's a low number, like it's a first edition, I like it keeping it pristine. Yeah, that's cool. But then eventually I'm going to probably have to buy a softback, because I don't think a first edition I can read happily. Or at least buy a digital version, because the digital versions are typically cheaper as well, which is nice. So, and now it's not that hard to get your hands on a Kindle at a fairly good price, or even, and then picking up the books is probably the cheapest way to go. But again, mix it up, try different things. You never know. So another good thing that I like to do is setting a weekly trip, or like just maybe it's in your house, I don't know, but some place that relaxes you, that you're gonna go there for like an hour or two and dedicate to just reading. Maybe you like something else, like just dedicate to reading for at least an hour when you're there. I like going to coffee shops. You could do museums. You could do anything really, like whatever really relaxes you. The beach is another great spot. You go spend, and you want to dedicate 1 hour or 2 hours of that time diving deep into a book. That always helps, and it kind of gives you a little, I don't know, at least for me, like I get to decompress as well from the week, and I feel almost like refreshed after I do one of those days, especially when it's like a coffee shop and I'm just having espresso, I'm hanging out, reading my book, maybe I talk to somebody. It feels fresh, and that's probably my one thing that I definitely need to start doing more of. I did it today and it just felt amazing, and I'm like, I really need to start doing this more. This really helps me want to get into reading more often. Another thing, so remember, let me recap that one. So you're doing something weekly, you're going to spend a little bit more time there. Now, book club is another huge one. At least for me, like I'm a deadline kind of person where I want to meet the deadline. So if I have a deadline for a book club, I have never missed a book club book up until this point. I might miss it one day, but as of right now, I have not missed one. I always get them completed no matter what, because I'm a due date kind of guy. When there's a date, I need to get it done. I will get it done by that date. So, and then you feel there's accountability, like with your friends and everything else. And you don't need to make a book club with 20 people, just because it's you and your friend and you're just going to go talk about the book one day. Maybe you meet up anyways once a month. Just add the book in there if you're both readers. Why not? It's really a great way to get you to read more. And you just think, if you're meeting every 2 months, that's 6 books a year. That's awesome. Truthfully, getting 6 books in, I think, is a great piece of knowledge to add to your brain. I'm a big believer that books are very engaging for the thought process. I think actually books are really good for artists as well, especially fantasy books, because it makes you think about creating a world in your head. And if you can create the world in your head, then you can also start transferring that down onto page, which is pretty cool. And I think that's like a secret weapon for artists sometimes. But yeah, definitely book club. Start a book club. You're going to want to get it done. I'm pretty much 100% positive. Outside of those things, I wouldn't think there's much else. There's probably a few other things that you can do. If you do think of something else, please drop it down below. A thing that I would not recommend doing, but I do it, is power read. Power reading is probably not the best thing, because I don't feel like I retain it all the time when I power read. And when I mean power read, I mean like you've read 50 pages of the book. It's a 500-page book and it's due tomorrow. And now you read 450 pages. You're not going to retain all that book as if you were going through it slowly. At least for me, I don't retain it like that. When I'm going through slower at a much an easier pace, I tend to digest the book better that way than just powering through the book as fast as possible. So that's something I wouldn't recommend doing. But again, it might be your thing. So if it is your thing, do it. Why not? Hey, who am I to say it's right or wrong? I'm just Joe. There's 2 Joes. 2 Joes and 1? That'd be too many Joes. But either way. So you know what I'm currently reading? Dune. You know what my back catalog looks like? Looks like this little baby stack over here. Oh, Jesus. Knocking the microphone around. It's a baby stack. I'll give you a bunch of tips here. Hopefully these tips help you out. I know they're definitely already getting me thinking of new ways to get back into a little bit heavier of a reading schedule. I feel more invigorated to get back into it. So hopefully this helped. But guys, till next time, take it easy and have a wonderful day. Plus, bonus, like, subscribe. You know what to do. Send out. The best way though to do anything is just send out a carrier pigeon. It's the best way to get in touch with me. Don't forget the comments, forget the liking and all them other things. Carrier pigeon works every time. I always get them. I think that's going to be the new wave. I think everybody's starting to pick up on this carrier pigeon thing. So you heard it here first. Carrier pigeons. Hand scribe it down on a piece of paper, roll it up, tuck it into that little pigeon's little satchel. Just picturing it with like a little satchel. It's a nice leather satchel too, probably. No, maybe it's like a feathery satchel. No, it's leather. He's got a little mailman hat on. He's like, I'm carrier pigeon. And you tuck it in there, you send it out. It knows where to go. You don't even have to whisper in his ear. The moment you put the note in there, it knows where it needs to go, sends it over there. Really great device. I highly recommend it. Highly recommended. Anything that I recommend, I do not recommend you do at all. Don't listen to anything I say. It's all bad advice. Or it's not. What do I know? Till next time, guys. Toodaloo. Thank you very much for hanging out here and listening to me babbling away. Toodaloo.